Alright, we're gonna see how the car starts. It does. So this is the 1973 Ford XB Falcon. They've made over 900 of these. And this is just a coupe. So what we're gonna do today, I'm gonna restore this little thing. This car is powered by a Ford Cleveland 305 V8. Made in Australia. And this thing just sounds freaking wild. It's also naturally aspirated, which is actually pretty cool. Got a carburetor, everything. Oh, I just ran a stop sign. Whoops. That's what happens when you have too much fun with these little cars. This is definitely gonna be one of my favorite cars to build, especially. This thing runs at exactly 300 horses stock off the bat too. And we're gonna make it run a little bit more. I had to do a little Bernie. I'm gonna let y'all enjoy listening to the rest of this until we get to the garage. So this here is the 1973 Ford Falcon GT. So beautiful, ain't it? Over 900 of these were made. The exact number, I'll have it linked in the description below. But this thing has seen some years, it seems like. So here's my goal. What I want to do is keep the engine that's originally in it. We're not worried about swapping it. So with this having the stock V8, it sounds pretty darn good. It's also naturally aspirated, like I mentioned earlier in the video. And this thing is just beautiful. But I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to start working on it. And I think we're going to start off by giving this a new paint job. I'm feeling green and black for this color. And the reason I want to go green and black is mainly because it just looks good. And honestly, it just kind of looks a little more aggressive, honestly. It just looks so good. Plus, green saves Earth, so a little bit of a joke there. I'm just feeling very greenish today. No pun intended. My gosh. That green and that black on it looks so good. So here we are. Into the main part of working on the car. With it being naturally aspirated, the first thing we're going to do is work on the tires. The rims and the tires. What I want to do is I feel like giving it some semi-slicks. With the semi-slicks, what I want it to do is I want it to be able to have a little bit more grip while handling onto the road. And the size of the rims that we're going to go into, we're going to put on semi-slicks with a millimeter rear size of 325. So it's not too beefy, but it's like kind of in the middle. And then the front, we're going to put 265. We also want to space them out because it lets the car be able to handle a little bit better. And I'm thinking if we go with a mid track width, it doesn't look so overdone, but it'll help with the balancing of it. And we can still have a little bit of sway when we end up adding some anti-roll bars later on while working on this car. The front track width as well, what we're going to do with the front track width, it's going to help keep the car a little bit more stable while handling with that big 305 V8 as well. We're going to go with the medium. All right, so now that we have the track width worked on and there's space a little bit to help with the stability of the car, what we're going to do is we're going to resize the rims. So the size that we're going to put on, we're going to do 16s, both the rear and the front, just to kind of add a little bit more style to the car. Now with some of these rims, a lot of them would look pretty good. But I am thinking that if we put something that's from Modular, because I want to buy the D31s. I think that's what we're going to install. We're going to install the Modular D31 rims. Just to kind of give it a bit of like an aggressive look. They just look so good, don't they? So now that we've installed the rims, we've installed the Modular D31 rims. We're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the drivetrain. We're going to put in the race clutch to help work with the racing transmission, so that this way we get the full gear ratio tuning and to be able to help handle more of that power. We're going to put the racing drive line in it and the racing differential. The racing differential is going to give us a full differential unlock tuning. That's see, I stumbled on my words again. So it's going to give us full tuning. This way we can either increase or decrease of how the differential is supposed to either lock up or loosen some. This way, when we're taking corners, the tires are going to spin at a certain rate to help control of how the car is going to be able to act. We're also going to throw on some racing brakes so that this way we have a bit more braking power, so we can tune the pressure and how the ratio between either the front or the rear brakes are going to be active. Once we get to the tuning, we're probably going to do more pressure to the front compared to the rear, because if we put more pressure up in the front, it'll help slow the car down a lot faster compared to how the rear is going to slow down. Today we're going to put on some race spring and dampers. This way, if we need to heighten or lower the car, it's going to help with more of that stability. So while we put these springs and dampers on, later on we'll get into the tuning, and we're going to end up figuring out how this car is going to perform. And if we need to heighten or lower the car, these springs are going to help do that job. We also can put the rally springs and dampers in it, but I'm better with the race spring and dampers because it just helps give that more aggressive look. So what we want this car to do, we want this car to perform in some races. We're going to add front anti-roll bars as well. And that's going to help with the stiffness tuning. This way we can stabilize the car a little bit better. We're also going to do the same thing with the rear. It's going to also help with stiffening or softening the rear for better stability. We're going to reduce a little bit of the weight as well. So we're going to do race weight reduction. That's going to especially knock out a good bit of weight. So we're going to knock out about over 500 pounds of weight. And we're going to reduce that. Base weight is over 3,000. And we're going to be pushing almost 2,500 pounds on this car. So we're going to add that. And we can go ahead and we can also add a race chassis reinforcement. Even with the reduced weight, we're just adding 130 pounds. So that's going to bring us to 2,600. Now for the power. Now this is naturally aspirated because it's also got a carburetor and everything. But we're going to add this positive supercharger, positive displacement supercharger. That's going to add a little bit more power by 40 horses. Plus, it's going to sound mean, too. This thing's going to be bitching, bro. It's going to be bitching. So, once we've got that, we're going to start working on the engine now. So, we're going to put the flywheel in. And what the flywheel is going to do, it's going to help reduce a little bit more weight. But it's also going to help speed up the car, especially. Because what it's going to do, see, it's going to help smooth and steady the rotation of the drive shaft. It's going to help with increasing or decreasing acceleration. So we're going to go and we're going to install that. Oil and cooling, it's going to help with the temperature of the car. So we're going to go ahead and add race cooling. Intercooler is going to also help with hot air for the turbocharger or supercharger. Next, we're going to add our supercharger. What this is going to do, it's going to help add a bit more power. This way we can push the amount that we need. And I guarantee you that this car is probably going to be running about 700 or 800 horses once we're done. That supercharger is just the beginning. And once we install the race pistons, it's going to help with for a better compression ratio, increasing the power, and along with adding them into the displacement of the engine. We're going to add the race block in, add more power, and race valves. The race valves is going to help with that compression. So while, you have gas being pushed through and then the pistons are going to compress, it's going to make that explosion. And then the valves is going to help with releasing that pressure, and it turns all that gas and fire and everything, once it's turned to smoke, after that, combustion happens, it's going to release all that and it's going to push it out from the valves. We're going to add that And it's going to help release all that pressure out a little bit faster. It's also going to help with more airflow. Going to increase the camshafts and the valves. This way it'll help with higher RPMs. It's also going to help add more speed, especially. All right, better emissions means race exhaust as well. This way it'll help bypass all that smoke and all that nasty exhaust smoke just like kind of be pushed out, you know? We're gonna do that. Do a race ignition. This way we can produce more power, but it also helps with better coils, spark plugs, the ignition wiring, everything like that. Race carburetor. This way it'll help with improving the torque. And we're going to do a race intake. This way we can have more air going to the engine. This thing's going to be mean, dude. And so here we are. The 1973 Ford Falcon GT is done. But we still have to tune it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start we're tuning the car. We're gonna take it to the road. Woo! That thing got wild. Alright, so we're on a bit of a straight here. We don't have much. I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna back up. So we're on a bit of a straight here. Go ahead and tune this thing up. Okay, so now that we got the car tuned, we're gonna give this thing a quick run. Now, remind you, earlier within the video, I was supposed to mention as well that this thing runs 14.9 seconds in a quarter mile. But now that we've got this thing upgraded, this thing's definitely much more powerful. This thing is definitely ready for some racing. This thing stops pretty quick now. Ooh, this thing's gonna be a monster today. So we're gonna do a brake test. We're gonna see how fast this car will brake. Not too bad. So we're gonna tune up the brakes real quick. (135% for pressure). Ooh, hello. We just ran off road a little bit. Alright. This thing is sounding pretty darn good now. We've got it upgraded. We got it ready for racing. For the most part. And this thing is just ready to hit the road. So we're gonna go and do some racing. See ya then. And so as you guys have seen, this car had done it. We had to play a little aggressive, but we were able to win the race with this car. Stock. This thing did so darn good. Yeah, it kind of slipped a little bit, but we were able to still have control at the end. And that just felt great. This car is pushing over 600 horses with only 670 foot-pounds of torque. 672, my fault. 672 foot-pounds of torque. So, this is the end of the video. I'm going to catch you guys next time on Restore and Modify. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I'm going to catch you guys next time.